What's up, Relaxation Outdoors fans? Today, I'm in a quandary. I need you guys to help me figure it out. So, I had a birthday this week, and my wife graciously said, you've been wanting a different kayak, so I'm going to get you a kayak. The question is, which one? So, I'm going to walk you through a comparison real quick. We're going to do a couple of quick tests for it. Fortunately, I have access to a pool, so we can check out a bunch of different, functions that the kayak has. And then maybe you guys can throw in your comments if you've used any one of these, what your preference has been, etc. So let me know what you think. So for the longest time, you've seen me in my videos fishing out of this, a Pelican. I think this is called a Mustang 100. It's a 10-foot kayak. It's been great. It has supposedly dry storage. It's really not dry. I generally keep a life jacket or a phone or something wedged under here with the strap. But I fish out of this 6-7 hours a day. I feel okay, maybe 5'10". I'm a bigger guy. This seat is comfortable for me. I could put a couple of rod holders in here and install these. Came factory on this one, but I have a couple of Pelicans so my kids can go with me. As you can see, I put a tape measure on here to show the length of the fish that I catch, but it's kind of a flimsy seat. And so sitting in here for 6 or 8, oh look, there's a piece of a pool noodle, 6 or 7 or 8 hours, 5 to 7 hours probably. The leg room is a little uncomfortable. Yeah, it has foot pedals, but it's a thin seat and I'm just crunched in here. The bigger issue is every time I go through a rapid or take on a little bit of water, my tackle bag sits back here and it immediately fills up with water. There's nowhere for water to go in this cavity, and so all my tackle gets wet. So that's my chief complaint. Additionally, it's really only rated for, 265 pounds or something like that. So when you put 15 or 20 pounds of gear, suddenly you're kind of stressing it. And it floats, it doesn't go underwater, but it's, something a little bit bigger. A 10 feet is not a bad option. So this is what I've been fishing out of, and now I'm trying to compare it to something different. So here is my father's kayak as an example. It's also 10 foot, but this one's rated for 275, right? This is the Teton Lifetime Angler 100. I haven't fished out of this. I have fished out of the sit-on-top kayak. They say it gives you more stability. I'm curious to try it, but the biggest difference is you get a seat kind of like in this kayak that I have to debate, a much nicer seat. You can snap into a couple of different adjustments, high or low if you want to stand up. We normally don't stand up, but it also has scupper plugs. So if you get water down inside here, it just runs right out if you pull the plugs out or leave them out, which is nice. So you take on some water, no big deal. A lot more storage, about the same width. All these kayaks, 10, 11 foot, 3 inches, but wide. The 31 to 32 inches, they're all the same, but you can see the larger length you go and the bigger you go, the longer the width runs the length of the kayak. So I'm gonna give this one a buoyancy test here in the pool here shortly and kind of see how it feels. As far as a sit-on-top kayak, I'm debating between this one. And this was the one my wife actually got me. This is a beautiful kayak. This is the Lifetime Yukon. I think it's 11 foot 3 inches. This is rated for another 75 pounds. Maximum 350. You could load up hunting gear, hunt ducks, shotguns, lots of heavy shotgun shells. I don't care anywhere near that amount of tackle. But again, scupper plugs in the back to allow all the stuff to drain that you keep in the back compartment. And this one is much larger for you to stand up. Again, I don't normally do it, but I'm curious to see. But it's 1 foot and 3 inches longer. It's also a difference of, I can load this kayak on my own on top of the car, 37 pounds, I believe. This kayak, I think, is 51 pounds at 10 foot, 11 foot, 3 inches, 76 pounds, I believe. So this kayak is much heavier. Probably can put it on the car. Definitely going to take 2 people. Because it's so big, it's nice. It has an integrated wheel on the backside here. You can see if you're pulling it at the ramps. So I'm going to give them a try. I'm really interested in stability on the water and buoyancy. So we'll see what happens here. But again, very curious what your guys' feedback is. The other advantage of this actually is watertight storage. This sucker seals. You can listen. The gap. Rubber seal all the way around this thing, and when you close it, you can hear the air come out. It is actually airtight for your phone or any camera gear, etc. Certainly has other nice bells and whistles. It has a track much like the Teton with a fish holder and so forth, but again, a much nice, more comfortable seat. for those long day fishing trips. The issue is I love to throw my Pelican on top of the car and I can go by myself. 2 people, no big deal. I can carry it in and out of the river. Sit on top, would go up another 10 to 15 pounds, and same length, more meaty kayak, super meaty kayak, probably tracks better in the water, goes up another 20 pounds. So I'll give you the buoyancy test here in a minute and we'll go from there. Okay, as usual, here's my Pelican I fish out of all the time. What I'm trying to get to look at is how buoyant the actual boat is on its own without me in it. Again, when I get in, it's going to sink a good bit, and that's what I'm trying to see if it's more stable and buoyant. But you can see with no weight, it's right about to the bottom where the kayak turns to go under. Sitting here floating. Really floats in hardly any water. So, all right, let me get loaded and then we'll show you the buoyancy test. All right, so here I am in the Mustang. Super easy to manipulate on the river and through rapids, really easy to turn. That's what I really love about this kayak. The problem is I got plenty of room. I don't have probably 20 or 25 pounds of rods and probably 20, 25 pounds of rods and gear in the back. Rods are stored here, they're behind you, which is all kayaks, but to get the tackle out, always moving it and pulling it around into the rods. And if you take on water in the back compartment, your gear's getting wet. So I come home every time and dry it out. Again, super maneuverable. I can turn this thing on a dime and do 360s. However, the issue is if I do this a little bit and lean, you can see right there, I can take on water. Once I take on water, I'm wet the rest of the day. I'm sitting in that water. I don't know, Megan, if you can see, what is there, about an inch or 2 of white showing? Well, maybe about an inch. It's not very much buoyant
Probably
here.
about 2, yeah.
Yeah, maybe an inch or 2 right to the seam of the blue to the white plastic. Again, it's great for fishing. It's very stable. I'd have a really hard time flipping this, but you can see when I go like this, see how easy it is to dip water right there, and suddenly I'm taking on water. So that's what I'm curious about the other Lifetime kayaks. So we're going to test those buoyancies next. Okay, so this is the Lifetime Teton Angler. Again, 10 foot. I will tell you, I've only fished 1 time out of a sit-on-top kayak. So while this seems to be more buoyant, I think, what is there, a couple inches up on the side showing? Mm-hmm. I could still lean and take on water and potentially embarrass myself on the camera. But it's different. Wobbly on top feels very different with a sit-on-top kayak. Now let's see the maneuverability wise. Yeah. It's definitely a little more slower to turn, but not impossible. Probably a little more buoyant underneath. Again, this one has integrated foot pedals here. You can change position. Plenty of room for tackle and again, scuffle threads. So overall, I'll tell you, I feel like I'm sitting in a Big Mac, a big truck, because it's just more weight above the kayak, which makes sense. So you're more top heavy, right? Based on center of gravity being higher. But the seat is way more comfortable, so I could kick back and I could take an easy stroll like this if I'm not really fishing, or I can also adjust it so that I'm more upright when I'm actually going through the rapids and so forth. All right, so this is the Lifetime Yukon 11.3, 1.3 inches longer. It's rated for another 50 or 75 pounds. I feel like I'm way up above the water in this one.
Yeah.
Do you see a difference?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm sure I could if I really forced it over, but there's a lot of wiggle room. I don't feel nearly as unstable on this one. Now the question is maneuverability. 1.5 longer. Got the pool hose in the way. So it definitely takes a little bit more. Again, it's still pretty reactive actually. And it's definitely more buoyant. Definitely more buoyant. It doesn't feel as heavy in the water as I thought it was going to be, even though it's 1.5 feet longer. But there's so much adjustable pedals. You can change throughout the day. It's got a strap, a place to put your GoPro. This handle here you can use if you want to stand up to help get yourself up when you're out in the middle of an open lake. I fish this in shallow waters, so we're fishing in rapids and water where we're still rubbing the bottom. And the Grin has an integrated wheel in the back so that it doesn't tear up the bottom of the kayak, and it's a little easier to maneuver. Disadvantage, a little bit longer. That's not a problem. It's 20 pounds-ish heavier than the kayak I'm currently using. So I can load that one on my own on the top of the car. This one, I don't think I can. 76 pounds, 11 feet long, just the physics don't work. But again, I'm only going kayaking with 2 people. But I'm actually impressed with how maneuverable this is. So anyway, give me your feedback if you have any feedback on these, or if you've ever tried any of these, pros and cons. This is a brand new kayak. Sitting in the pool, I'm not gonna ding it up or anything. I wanna get a little bit of feedback before I decide what I'm gonna do. If I go get a smaller 10 foot, it's about 10 to 15 pounds lighter. Appreciate the feedback.